Hi, everybody. How is everybody doing?
Hello.
We are here again, the Trans Gurus. Oh my God, another one incredible week. So many things going on right now. It's crazy. But we have an incredible thing today. An incredible thing for these times. It's called resilience. Yes, resilience. So I am going to pass to Jimmy to start the presentation.
All right, so it's good to see everyone. Uh, we're myself, Raji, and Ella are down here in Southeast Florida, where right now there's Hurricane Helena making its way up through the Yucatan Pass, and more than likely going to hit the Big Bend area of state of Florida and then make its way up into Georgia. So thoughts and prayers for everybody that are in the path of this storm. And maybe we can use this as a segue to our, somehow or another. Uh, so all things are connected. Somehow or another, the weather, the wind, all things. If it's of this universe, it's connected somehow. Uh, Quantum entanglement. And so how do circumstances present themselves to to guide a hurricane in a certain direction? So not only are all human spirits dancing with one another, and not necessarily human, but all spirits are dancing with one another. And how does the universe, how do all these things come about to have a hurricane go one direction or another? I'm fascinated by that thought. Maybe that could be a topic for one day.
Mm.
But we're talking about resilience, and resilience to me is the ability to continue in the face of advertisement. And it takes, so as all some of these traits that we talk about, discipline, uh, resilience, all these are learned traits. You're not born with it, but you learn from it, and it's a developed trait. And so again, I'm at the parking garage at LA Fitness, and so I was working out prior to starting this video. I was listening to a TED talk on resilience, and the speaker had an excellent way of explaining it. So imagine a scale with a fulcrum, like a teeter-totter, a scale with a fulcrum, and a fulcrum is the pivotal point of that teeter-totter, like one of these things, okay? And on one side of the scale, you have positive uh, emotions, and on the other side is negative emotions. But where's the fulcrum? The fulcrum, the initial location of this fulcrum on this moving scale is depending on our genes and our experiences at a very young age. The scale won't move, but the location of the fulcrum relative to the center of the scale can move. And that's through repeated thought. So if we train our brain to constantly seek solutions, the fulcrum is we're going to move closer to the positive side of this scale. If we constantly see problems without solutions, the fulcrum is going to move closer towards the negative end of this scale. So I'm listening to this speaker and I'm like, this is a brilliant analogy, a brilliant analogy. Uh, when we are confronted with challenges, does our brain automatically go into solution finding mode, or does our brain go into, oh, holy cow mode, we're screwed? So we have a tendency. So we have to do like a self-analysis when we're confronted with problems. Do we retreat or do we advance, so to speak? So this podcast tonight is to try to not only talk about resilience, but in ways that we can train ourselves so that our default mode is solution oriented. And that analogy where the scale, this is always positive and this is always negative, but the fulcrum can move. We can move the fulcrum by repeated self-talk towards being solution oriented. Ella.
Wow. I have to say, I love your analogy. I really do love your analogy. And I'll come back to it.
It's not mine. It was a TED talk, but and
Yeah,
I don't recall the lecturer's
yeah,
name, but it definitely makes sense,
it
and it's
makes
a good
a lot.
way. And that's another thing with these videos. Concepts need to be verbalized. You know, we come across some of these ideas. There has to be a way how to communicate these ideas so that they're comprehensible to our audience. And this is a very good way to like visualize, okay, I understand what's going on here with resilience and perseverance. The
Yeah,
idea to continue in the presence of adverse conditions.
yeah. No, but I love that idea. It's really interesting. And I'll tell you some stories of to support your story. Who's going to go next? Bobby?
Oh, sure. Um, Thank you. We talk about so many qualities of character, and Jimmy mentioned some with persistence and discipline. I know we've talked about confidence and things like uh, how to what to do with lemons and so forth, um, and resilience is a choice that we make. Now, I was having a conversation with a friend just yesterday. Being transgender is not a choice. Uh, I have never met anyone who chose to be transgender. Being transgender chooses us. And the only thing I ever chose was who I was going to tell about it. And that's all the choice I ever had. And uh, so, what are you going to do about that? If that's you, if you're living with that condition, what are you going to do about it? And I find that the things that we talk about here, trans gurus, are the subsequent choices we have learned to make because of that. Is what are we going to do about it? And so when it comes to something like resilience, that's a choice. That's when uh, you realize that nobody's going to fix this but me. that I'm not the I am the solution. If there's going to be a solution, it starts with me. And so resilience is one of those things, and you hear so many sayings about that. It's not, like it's not how many times you fall off the horse, it's how many times you get back on. And that reminds
That's
me,
it.
I remember the first time I ever got kicked off a horse. Uh,
Okay.
I was young. I was probably, oh gosh, I don't know, probably third or fourth grade with some of my friends, and one of their dads says, "Get back up on that horse right now." And I did. I did. And it uh and that was that was the sort of thing that kind of scared me when it happened because it hurts. And but he was right at that moment. I had the choice to never get near a horse again or get back up on that horse. And I did. And so now, I love horses. One of my kids got two horses, and it's like they're wonderful animals, but sooner or later stuff like that is going to happen. And so resilience is a choice. And um, the other thing about when bad things happen or failures or obstacles, there's kind of this idea of sustainability, which just really kind of indicates you survived. But when I think about resilience, it's like you've gone on to find a way to thrive on top of that. And so when I think about resilience and the things that I've had to encounter in my journey, it's like uh, I've come to a place where I'm not just surviving, I'm really thriving. And and it's funny that you started out by uh, mentioning Hurricane Helene because I'm down, I'm still down in Louisiana where we had Hurricane Francine just like 2 weeks ago, and well, I need to be here to help with the cleanup and everything, and I'm not from a hurricane prone part of the world, but everybody down here is. They've had this part
Oh,
of Louisiana. This part of Louisiana's had 14 hurricanes make landfall here since 2002, and it's that just blows my mind. That's like every year almost there's something coming through here, and and that's where you really learn a lot about resilience, because um, there's it's tough, and for the life of me, people say, why do people want to live here? And that's a really good question. But I one thing I do know is you're not going to last very long if you're not a resilient person. And so we all run into that. But when it comes to just being trans and kind of, the family rejection or the friend rejection or the loss of a job or the loss of your housing, the loss of your health care, I think that's why I say nobody would ever choose to be transgender because, yeah, let me get this straight. I want everybody in the world to start hating on me. No, nobody would really choose that. But how we respond to that is really what everything is all about. And so uh, I think the main point that I want to make about resilience is that has all got to come from within, because nobody's going to be resilient for you. You've got to clean up and go on, and in doing that, you find out a lot of things like failure isn't fatal. Uh, Failure is, and I've had to teach kids this forever because there's so many kids. I work with really traumatized children, and there are so many of them that just come unglued when they experience any kind of failure, because of the homes they grew up in, where they were made the scapegoat or this and that, and teaching kids how to respond to failure is is really something. And so I've discovered all kinds of stuff like Thomas Edison. He came up with 10,000 versions of the light bulb before he found one that worked. And it was like, I haven't failed. I've found 10,000 ways it didn't work. And that's what resilience is all about. Michael Jordan had this great spot years ago, where he talked about being the greatest basketball player in the world because he failed so much. And he talks about all the game winning shots he missed and all the things like that. And so uh, it's what do you do with failure? And for me, and the way I've had to teach children is failure is no more than an event to help you decide what to do next. And that's the best way I know how to explain it. And that's what resilience is all about. It's like, how do you handle failure? And instead of beating yourself up and getting all depressed, it's like, just make it an event that helps me decide, okay, what am I going to do next? So back to you, Ella.
you just remind me of someone which actually I don't personally know, but I lived not too far away from his house, and I knew some people which knew him, and it's Roger Federer. The
Oh
Swiss
yeah.
tennis player. Um, when he was young, apparently. and I'm saying apparently because I don't know him, but apparently he was a very aggressive person and a very negative person.
Mm-hmm.
And the day that he
He was a
found
hothead.
out, he just became the most incredible player.
Mhm.
Really incredible. He's half Swiss, half South African. But he was, I mean, he- to become what he really made him so important was his change in that thing that Jimmy was talking about.
The
Yeah,
vulgar.
it was really true. Madame Raji.
It's my turn. So wow, resilience. First of all, I want to say that everyone here in this moment, all of us on the panel and everyone watching and everyone that's just here in the world, we are survivors and we're thrivers because every day on some level, we as human beings survive and we thrive. And some people do it more than others in the sense of like thriving. But the mere fact that you're living and you still have breath and you're in this physical realm makes you a survivor and a thriver. In regards to resilience, I actually think it's something that we're born with. I think as we live our lives, it strengthens. But I think the spirit, our spirits, when you hear the phrase a resilient spirit, we human beings are resilient. And when you look at all of the different things that have happened in the world since the beginning of time, the mere fact that we human beings still exist is an example of the resiliency of our spirit. And I think as we live, it fuels determination because see the resilience is like the spirit, and I think the hard work and like picking yourself up, and that really infuses into determination. um I'll give you an example. You hear like, oh, I'm still here.
You got carried away.
Technical difficulties, but I'm determined and I'm resilient.
Here we go.
But no, what I was saying is like you hear stories of survival, like a baby is born into a horrific situation, and they're not being fed by the mother, and they're in deplorable and I should say a deplorable environment. And for whatever reason, that baby survives, it hangs on. To me, that is the resilience of that baby, because it's a resilience to live life despite all of your environment. And I use the example of a baby because a baby can't say, I'm going to pick myself up and, by my bootstraps and all. No, but that resiliency is there, even from a young infant. And that's just one example. And so I've seen it in my life because even as a kid, when I wasn't able to say, be resilient, when I shouldn't say resilient, be determined and be like, oh, I'm not going to let these bullies get me down. And I'm not going and I was like that kind of that sheep in a wolf's den or a lion's den. There was something in me that kept me going. And to me, that is resilience. That thing in your spirit that just keeps you going, and somehow you get through your situation, but there's that zest to live, to survive, so that you can make it to the next day. And then as we live our lives, yes, our resilience hopefully gets stronger. And it's kind of like, how like we're babies, and babies have muscles, but they're not worked out yet. They're not strengthened. So, the resilience is there, but then as we live life, it strengthens and it gets stronger. Hopefully, hopefully it does. So that's what I'll say to start off things, and I'll throw it back to Ella.
Yeah, I mean, I have to tell you, you have so beautiful words. Incredible. You.
Thank you. You're making me blush. Can you see?
I want to go back a little bit of what my sisters have said. One theme that I think we are really terribly wrong in our society is about the concept of failure, which Bobby was talking about. Because in reality, it's not failure, it's trial and error. It is until you found your place. It's like Edison and his light bulbs, and like it's everything else. But you see, the problem is that we have a tendency to somehow punish failure. Probably we should do it in another way, or should put it through another perspective. The concept of, doing things which have probably not the right ones, but it probably is a phase of your life. Concerning religion and positivity, negativity, I know a person. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about someone who's very, very dear to me. My son. My son is, my oldest son, is an incredible person. I have to tell. But he had phases in his life. He had this phase in his life when he had a certain phase that he was quite young, and that he was kind of negative. And things were very difficult for him at the time. And he managed, like a miracle, to get over it. And like a miracle, because he's such a creative and incredible person, he managed to embrace correctly what he wanted to be. And he always knew that, he always knew that what he wanted to be from the young age. And, he made his PhD, he made his, absolutely incredible position in the world. And now he's got a wonderful, beautiful family, but he's a very positive person these days. But he had a difficult phase. He did have a difficult phase like everybody else. Sometimes we have to go through a certain negativity to enjoy our positivity, and to find as well our resilience. If I would say that everything I do is perfect and it's an absolutely fantastic, no, it's not.
No.
I had good moments, I had bad moments. But you know what? I had a hell of a lot of learning moments. And learning moments in a positive way, and learning moments from the negative to turn into positive. Every day in my businesses and in my thing, there are challenges. Oh my God. But that's why I became an engineer, because I wanted to, to solve those challenges. That is my daily to solve challenges, solve little problems. That is so incredible. And for the resilience, there is something which is very important as well, is one has to, and it's not easy learning, to connect to the ethers of life, and to connect to what existence around you, and things that you don't even see, but you can feel them, and trust your feelings. for me, I mean, that is for me, that's what resilience means for me. It's to not only not to give up, but to try to find that middle ground where you are happy, you are positive, never get destroyed by negativity, because, hey, come on, we all have got our 5 minutes of being negative. Oh, that'll never work.
Yeah.
But you know what? Sometimes it's your fears, your internal fears, nothing else.
Ella, I'm sorry. Your expression, you're like, oh, it will not work. But that's so true. It's true. People, we have our moments,
That moment when you are in bed and you say, oh my God, I have to go there. And then you change your mind and you say, you know what? Let's do it.
Mhm.
And by God, it was great, because you did it, you achieved it, and you cherish it. And that's resilience. It's the whole problem of going one step by step until you are there. And not forget, it's not where you are. You have to go. It's how you do every single journey, every single step of the journey is the important thing. So this is my point of view. Who wants to go ahead and give some extra thoughts about it?
Well, Ella, I just got to say this. This triggered something for me because you talked about the failures. And you know what? I think our failures are just as important as our successes, because if you can learn from the failure, and use it to continue on, then the failure has become a blessing, a positive thing. Like you're able to use it to continue on and to hopefully fulfill whatever goal you have. And I also think too that there's moments where I think we all get frozen and you don't do anything with the situation. It may feel overwhelming. You may feel like, oh, it's impossible. I can't. But you're frozen, but there's still that resilient spirit in you that says, well, I don't know what to do. I'm not taking any action right now, but I do know that somehow I want this to work out. And and just having those moments where you may not be able to do anything. You may be frozen. You may be paralyzed, but you still have that spirit to want to make it to the next day.
Yeah. I mean, never forget. I read that many years ago. I don't remember exactly who wrote that, but they said success is 90% transpiration and 10% inspiration.
Wow.
And that is so true. But what? Inspiration is where you actually find where you go, because you learn. You're learning. I do believe that we've got a problem in our society, because we really do love to inflict blame to failure. It is something that it starts when you're young, and one of your parents told you, "Don't do that. That is bad." No,
Yeah.
do it and enjoy it. And you probably did something wrong, but you know what? You learn it. Next time you won't do the same.
It's funny when you mentioned that saying about success of 90% perspiration. The first time I saw that, it was high school football. I actually I was on the high school football team. And it's like, well, no, that didn't last very long because I was meant to be a cheerleader. So
Never let them see a girl sweat. Never let them see a girl sweat. I'm glistening, but I'm not sweating.
yeah.
Yeah, but nothing comes automatic. Nothing comes automatic. But it's the it's the resilience that brings something. Jimmy,
Yeah, yeah. I love what I'm hearing, and most people fail their way to success. You know, I think I mentioned this in one of our other videos. It's and one of my favorite sayings. It's not in time, place, or circumstance, but in the person lies success. And I'm hearing I just love that. I just love it. Like you hear about these Navy SEALs doing the impossible
mm,
because it's in the person.
yeah,
Put a Navy SEAL in any time, any place, in any circumstance, and they'll complete the mission.
yeah,
And that's the discipline of the human mind. The fulcrum on that person's all the way to the positive. That's all they do is their default mode is solution oriented. They see an obstacle, but their brain immediately thinks of ways how to get around it.
correct.
And there's something else we're talking about here too. So I think it was Raji was talking about the infant. I envisioned an infant on the top of the mountain that somehow or another survives and becomes the ruler of that land. And then there's Ella's son who, by virtue of or the tennis player, by virtue of using their mind, moved that fulcrum on that scale closer to the positive end.
Mm,
So I watched this video a long time ago by this doctor. I forget his name, but he was talking about generational karma.
mm,
And so this video I listened to earlier today about uh, resilience, the when we're born on this scale with the fulcrum, the fulcrum has a predetermined position based on our our generational karma and our genes. But through living our life and through our self-talk and discipline and how we navigate through life, the scale doesn't move, but the fulcrum does. So we can either, if we're solution oriented, we're going to move that scale closer to the positive.
mm,
If we play the victim mode and there's no way I'm going to throw in the towel, our fulcrum is going to move towards the negative side. So our self-talk, how we perceive events in our life, play a major role in how that fulcrum is positioned on the scale of solution and problem. And
mm.
there's another thing I wanted to mention. The Chinese call it the yin and yang, up,
Yes.
down, left, right, hot, cold, health, sickness, in, out, mountain, valley,
Mm,
problem, solution. Just know in your mind that if you're confronted with a problem, if it is actually a problem, there has to be a solution somewhere.
absolutely.
Otherwise, it's not a problem. A problem can't be a problem unless there's a solution. A solution cannot be a solution unless there's a problem. So if we approach things recognizing that a cool, calm, collected mind, someone who's collected, someone who's not hysterical, if you calm your mind, get comfortable, and your fulcrum is in the right position on the scale, the solutions will come to you.
Yeah.
And that's how we want to train ourselves. In the business world here in South Florida, I'm confronted with problems all the time, and I've conditioned myself that I don't get excited. I'm just like step back. There has to be a solution somewhere. So if I collect my thoughts, get myself oriented, relax, the solution will come to me, and then we can move on.
Absolutely.
And I got to leave in maybe about 4 minutes to get my dog, but
Yeah.
this is I love, and I just want to say this. I really talk about discipline and commitment. Every one of us have been here on these podcasts, unless one of us has been out of town or someone had a previous engagement. But for the most part, we're all committed to the success of Transgurus, And I think the proof is in the pudding. Ella's telling us, she's our chief administrator, that our audience and group participation is incrementally increasing every week.
Yeah.
So I think, and that warms my heart that we're providing beneficial content to our community. That the whole reason Trans Gurus exist is to provide spiritual guidance and leadership to not only the trans community but the world at large.
Yeah.
Ella.
So we have right now, I just looked that we have over 13 or 12,500 followers. We've been increasing incrementally. Thank you for watching. Thank you for becoming a subscriber, and follow us. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it in the next 2 weeks. It's going to be a little bit complicated because I'm traveling, but I have to go to Brazil, and afterwards I'm going to be in Portland, Oregon. But I'm going to try to see how can I fit everything up so that
Yeah.
it's going to be a struggle, but we'll see. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bobby, would you
Yeah.
like currently
It's
Raji and
funny. I was I was just thinking about not just in the trans community, but resilience is something we have to learn, and teachers teachers have always been my heroes, and I am just so blessed to be a teacher myself and to teach teachers. And there are over 8,000 teachers and principals and counselors uh, that had to get their graduate degrees. They've had to spend at least 8 weeks with me on their way to get their licenses. And that I would be able to say, I, holy smokes, I've trained over 8,000 teachers and counselors and principals and administrators. That blows my mind. But where I was going with all of that is within the teaching profession, you will not believe how many first year teachers go home crying every night that I can't do this. It's too hard. The pressures and the stress, and it's not a bit unusual for teachers, even male teachers, to go home crying every night their first year in the classroom. And what I tell them is just keep showing up. Come back to work tomorrow. And that is like 90% of the success is just keep coming back. And, I think I can say that with some authority after having 8,000 teachers and spending all of my life. I'm in my 48th year as an educator. And so I think I can say that with some authority is just keep showing up. Just come back tomorrow. And that's the way you learn resilience. And, all of those teachers that went home crying themselves to sleep that first year, they're still in the business and they're doing better than ever. But we all remember that first year when we just thought we couldn't go another day because it is one of the toughest jobs in the world. I don't care what anybody says. It is really tough. But that's it. Just keep coming back. Show up tomorrow and you're going to be okay. So I'll leave it with that.
Okay, Raji.
And Ella, let me just bump in. I love you guys. I gotta run. God
Okay.
bless y'all.
Bye.
Love you
Jimmy.
all.
See you next time.
Oh, you too, Jimmy.
Raji's just back again, so
Huh?
probably she will have a couple of words for us. Finishing words? Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
I am having technical difficulties today. The thing just cut off, but I'm back. At least I can say goodbye to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that do you want to tell a couple of words more, Raji?
Um,
Jimmy just left
well,
us. And
oh, Jimmy had to go. Yeah, so what would I say? I think that the important thing to remember is that the mere fact that we were born into life gives us all a birthright to be here. And we all have that resilience within us to do what we want, go for what we want, set goals to achieve, to deal with our situations, no matter where you are in the world, who you are, what you're going through. And so, in the midst of chaos, where you feel like, oh my God, like, how can I go on? If you just take some time to take some deep breaths, because see, breath represents life.
Yes.
Breath represents our life here in this human realm. So if you can take some deep breaths, and it doesn't take long to do that, only a couple seconds, you'll ground yourself and you'll remind yourself that, wait a minute, you have the power within you. We're born with it. And you just have that moment to be able to remind yourself that, yes, I have the resilience and I can continue on. I will get what I need, the knowledge I need, the strength that I need, whatever it is you need to make it to the next day. Ella?
Oh, wow. I think this was a very, very interesting episode for Transgurus because I think it was really quite interesting. I am not going to tell anything else except that thank you everybody for watching Transgurus this week.
Thank you.
And please come back. As I told you, the next weeks are going to be a little bit difficult, but I'm going to try to put it in the right timings, even if I'm traveling.
Uh-huh.
And I wish everybody a great weekend, a great time, and bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Love, peace, and blessings.